Hello, and welcome to Inoculation. I'm your host, AstraZeneca. Very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big thanks to Drew for the intro music. I would say your last name, but I'm going to talk about all this crazy stuff, and you'll be like, I'm happy you didn't say my last name. And Drew didn't make the music. He just said, you should get some music. Put some music at the start. So here we are, the music, boom. All right, today we're going to be talking about yeens. And yeens is a word I've come up with to avoid maybe YouTube censorship. They say if you talk about the things people use to inoculate themselves against disease, if you say the word, they automatically kind of censor it. And I'm not super worried about that because personally, right, with the crowd, with the great listenership that I have, I could just individually ask everybody if they listened. Be like, hey, did you listen? And then I would know. I don't have to worry about the algorithm. I don't need to. I have all the help I need to get the word out is just in my messenger. So thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Drew. You know who you are. I'll do the rest of the thank yous at the end. But Jeremy, especially because you wrote it in the comments. So today we're going to be talking about yeens. Yeens. All the talk this week was about how some of the yeens have been slowed down. They're not pumping them out like they were because they could cause blood clots. Now, I was debating this week. I was like, should I? It took me like 15 days to make this podcast because I was going to do it about yeens. And then I was like, no, people get too upset. Everybody gets too worked up. And they're like, oh, you think you know? I don't know anything. Let's get that clear. I don't know anything basically about anything. So just think like, oh, I don't think that I'm a doctor and I don't think that I'm anything special. I'm just a guy who watches the news, who has opinions. So thank you for tuning in to hear those. But this is I'm not an expert. And sometimes I feel like I'm the only person that's not an expert when it comes to vaccines. Have you noticed that? Oh, yeens, I blew it already. Yeens, when it comes to yeens. Like, I feel like at some point in high school, I was doodling the word hash in block letters, which I like to do a lot back then. The word skate, maybe my name, some sort of block letters were getting doodled. And everyone around me was building vaccines. And I'm pretty sure of it. I'll just say the word now. Who cares? I'll just text you guys send this out individually. Everybody around me was making vaccines. Like, hey, can you pass the polyamor? You know, they're literally, that's like Build-A-Bear was going on. Because when I look and talk to people nowadays, everybody knows everything about them as if they were the ones that made them, as if they know. Like, trust me, these things, they're safe and effective. My dad used to spend hours working on yeens in the garage. He would be out there mixing and matching and trying to figure out the best. And then we would all inoculate as a family. So I know a thing or two. I grew up on a yeens farm, actually. I know everything about them. And then there's me. I was like, I don't know. I also never thought about them a lot. People would be like, I don't like needles. I have these weird needle seizures when I take a needle or my whole body sweats. It's really crazy and it's horrible and I hate it. And so I'm sort of anti-needle. And that you're like, well, I don't want to get them because I don't like needles. It's like, you're anti-vax. It's like, I'm not anything. I don't think like that. I don't think like vax or anti-vax. I don't think about these things at all. But in the last year, you don't really have a choice. You better think about it. So let's get into it. Okay. I don't trust corporations. Never have. Anybody that's doing anything for profit, you got to know that they put profit first and not you. And don't get me wrong. And I already said I don't like needles. And I certainly don't have any faith in the government. So those are the big three when it comes to yeens. And you might think like, oh, okay, so you are marching at the mall on Saturdays and, causing a stir. But I'm not. I don't care about this stuff that much. It's not up to me. But I'll tell you, despite my lack of trust, after these lockdowns, I'm going to get into some really bad news for anybody that is worried about vaccines, but I'm also going to get into some really great news. So if you are worried about it and you're worried about the controller's agenda, I've got really bad news for you. Since the lockdown, I have decided that not only will I be willing to get one, if you want to, companies, you can test them on me, stick them in my leg. I have nothing to live for anymore. I'm just a guy in a house. I don't want whatever it is, I'm going to get into the side effects. Whatever it is, I'll take them at this point. What's the point? If we're just going to be locked in our houses, we don't really have a choice. Just test them on me. I don't care if at this point, I don't care if they're guaranteed to give you carpal tunnel syndrome. I'm going to break all three of them onto some tinfoil and just speedball the whole thing. And I wouldn't have. A year ago, I would have been like, no way, I'm not getting a needle. I'm not getting any of this. I just want to leave the house. I don't care if it gives me carpal tunnel full blown. As soon as you take it, it's guaranteed. I just want to be at the Flames game. Go, Flames, go. Go, Flames, go. You know, that's all. I just want to get out of my house. And this is the bad news for anybody that's worried about the agenda of the families, you know, and I don't want to go through the whole thing. It's like you have to kind of know, but they won. They won, guys. Okay? If you're trying to fight, you know, the families, the elites, whatever you want to call them, they won. They got us. Look, everybody's following all the rules. If you believe that you call people sheeple, I hate it when people do that. If you call people sheeple, the sheeple won. The sheeple have you. You're a wolf and you're surrounded by a bunch of sheep that got you pinned. So you can start acting like a bit of a sheep and maybe get out there and we can start going to concerts again and living our lives again. Or you can stick as just an angry wolf that has to stay in the house. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. And I'm not making fun of you. You know, I'm really feel bad for everybody right now. It's horrible. And these are the conspiracies that they say happens from getting your yeens. So one of them is that the controllers, who's like, you know, the big names like George Soros, they say like Bill Gates, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Morgans, the Carnegies. I don't know that much about it. I just know basically everything about it because I've gone down the rabbit hole so many times. I basically own a condo down that rabbit hole. You can stay in it. I use it as an Airbnb. Go down there, learn about these families, learn about all the different things they've done over the years, the resource scarcity and all the things that they've done. And this right now, the goal, apparently, what people are worried about is that they're going to dumb you down so that you'll work for no money. And that's what the yeens will do. That's what the yeens mixed with the yeens mixed with fluoride and all these different things are going to dumb you down and you're going to work for no money. Well, let me tell you something before you get your yeen. Minimum wage and smoking weed already exists. So you basically just... The Illuminati really didn't need to do the yeens thing. They didn't need to. If they wanted to do that, it's like, you don't need a bunch of needles. You don't need any of that. All you need is a bag of indica and a manager that doesn't care. Because we're already getting paid like no money. So you just dumb them down. We were already right there. There was no need for that. There's no need. Why would they need to give us all yeens to make us work for just our housing and food when most people are doing that anyway? So that doesn't make any sense for the yeens conspiracy. Then the next one is that they are going to make people infertile. And that's terrifying. That's a terrifying thought. But also, I mean, getting sentenced to a life of just partying, right? If I want to keep the human race going, I do. But if I can't, I don't know. We're kind of like a pretty special generation if you think about it. If we all get it, we all get them, and then we all can't have kids. We're just driving mopeds in Belize for the rest of our lives. We're having a blast for the rest of our lives. Yes, it sucks, and they shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have put stuff in the yeens to make it so we can't have kids. They definitely shouldn't have. And we can talk about that at a breakfast buffet while we're down south, not looking after our kids, putting just going, it was really messed up. Yeah, it looks like all the conspiracy theories were right. They were right. But as we enjoy our breakfast and then go sit by the pool for a few hours, you'll realize I was right too. This is super fun. I can't even believe it. And so this is what I mean about we lost, okay? There's nothing we can do at this point. It doesn't matter. Just go get it. If we all, so if say we all take, all have to take it, right? That's what they're saying. To get your passport to move around, we all have to take it. And at this point, basically, think about the job market at this point. You know, we all take it. It won't matter. If everybody is all screwed up, you'll be able to get a job with just anything. You just show up. If you can write your name on a resume just like with crayon, they'll be like, oh, awesome. It's ever since the vaccines, you know, everybody's been so screwed up. You'll just get right in there. Yeah, sure, downtown traffic will be a little messed up, you know, crashing into each other. Getting out like, what's wrong? It's like, I don't know. I got the yeens. Me too. I don't know what I'm doing. We're just crashing into each other. The point is no one will be above anyone else. So it won't really matter. And I really don't think that any amount of energy that you spend trying to tell people like, oh, don't take them. So even if we get them, right, we're going to be fine. But don't like waste your energy trying to stop people. I don't think. Don't take my advice. Do whatever you want. But just if you're burning energy, you're like, no, you guys, you got to understand. Just know that whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen to all of us. It's going to be totally fine. And no amount of you like typing Facebook statuses or anything. And I've watched all the documentaries. I know all the evil stuff they've done. You name it. There's not a thing that has happened in history that these families haven't had their little nasty lizard claws in. Okay? They sank the Titanic. They've taken out numerous things I won't even say. This video will get taken down. But at this point, they could hold a press conference. The Queen, George Soros, Bill Gates, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, they could hold a press conference and say, hey guys, we gotcha. We gotcha. You're done. You're cooked. What will we do? What are you going to do? You going to make a Facebook status? You think people are going to rise up? They won't even rise up when they don't know that there's 6 families controlling all the resources of Earth and have the setup so that you can't do anything about it or you get arrested for speaking out. And what are you going to do? There's nothing we can do. They could hold a press conference. Remember when Tidal had their press conference and they had all those like millionaires on the stage and they were all making puppy dog faces because they weren't getting enough pennies off of their streams? We don't even get our money. That's going to be them if we don't take the yeens. We're going to have all George Soros, Gates, the Queen. They're all going to be up there and they're going to be like, you guys need to take these yeens. We spent a lot of money. This was one of our biggest psychological operations we have ever run. And there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do. So in the meantime, we'll just deal with our stagnant wages and unaffordable houses. And we'll take the yeens and we'll go to circuses and enjoy the last. And if the worst case scenario is that we don't have kids, that's no big deal. Let's talk about something really that will really get this thing taken down. I get deep into the yeens. So I was going to talk about cannibals was my original plan for this podcast because I learned all these things about cannibals that are crazy and kind of hilarious. But then I was like, you know what? Everybody's talking about the yeens, and there's a cool story that the CIA did, like 15 years ago or so. And in a classic My Word episode style, I'll tell you about it without too many solid details, just basically off of memory. So they wanted to find bin Laden. Now, if you don't know, Osama bin Laden was a terrorist that the States was looking for because he was up to no good for many years. And he was hiding, and they thought he was hiding in Pakistan. So they set up vaccines. They wanted to find his DNA. So they pretended to give people vaccines. The CIA set up a station like they do now for, good reasons to get the DNA of bin Laden. And to me, it sounds like a sci-fi story. They go set it up. What did they, I'll tell you, spoiler, they didn't get him. Bin Laden didn't come out of his hole to get a vaccine. He didn't need the yeen that bad. And I always just pictured it just like, hey, Osama, the infidels that you hate with all of your being, that you wish death upon. Yes. Yeah, I know. Well, they're here and they've got some stuff. They want to inoculate you and the crew and basically they don't want you guys. Remember how sick you were last year during flu season? And I was like, yes, I remember. I was very sick, dehydrated. I had to get ginger ale and popsicles. And they're like, yeah, so they can actually ease the symptoms if you just come out. It's like the infidels. It's like, absolutely not, Osama. You know, he would have been like, death to America. Death to America. I'm not coming out there. Do you think that they use the same tricks on him? Osama, it's not about you. It's about the older members of the Taliban. It's about the senior members of ISIS. Those are the ones. The members of ISIS that are immunocompromised. If you're in ISIS and you're immunocompromised, then that's who we're worried about, Osama. And he was like, you know what? That's true. I am a little worried about the senior members of the Taliban. But they didn't get him. They didn't get swing and a miss. Swing and a miss, CIA. Obviously, they got him later on. Or since we're talking conspiracies, maybe he died of dialysis or whatever many years before. That's what people believe. There's no way to figure any of it out at this point because everybody that was involved with the Osama raid is dead. So we can't ask them, can we? I'm going to end with the last little bit about an sort of an embarrassing story that has to do with Yeens, more Yeens stuff. And it was when I went to a documentary showing of this movie called Vaxxed, and it's great. It's one of those things I almost like didn't want to tell people about it. I know, like, I don't usually tell people that I go to do this stuff because then people judge. They're like, "Oh, you're into that?" And it's like, no, I'm not into it any more than I'm into a good episode of X-Files. I'll just go watch and then leave. So the movie was about it's a documentary, and it's kind of at the crux of the informed consent movement. See, I know the terms because you learn them in the doc. And it's about just the Yeens and the different things Yeens have done and what they believe. And there's a whistleblower from the CDC. He's in it, and he's talking about how they did some things. He alleges they did some things that are pretty shady. Anyway, it was about Yeens, and one of the things that the documentary did was show a lot of people having seizures. A lot of people having seizures in this doc, like to the point where it's like, I get it. I know what it looks like. I got it. You're just trying to shock. I always know when news or a program is like, you're just trying to emotionally rock me. Give me the information. I don't need to watch this for so long. So anyway, sitting in a theater. Whoa. Sitting in a theater, and I had my leg like crossed, and I didn't even think about it, but I left it crossed for the whole movie. And it was a weird old theater, tiny little theater. You know, it's not. It wasn't at Empire. You know, it's not. You're not going to see. You just basically had to like give a secret code. You had to walk down a hall. We had to hide your face. So I watched the whole thing, and then me and my buddy get up to leave, and literally the whole thing was just like seizures. Should have been called like Yeens and seizures. And my leg fell so asleep that like my whole body felt like it was just like my lower body was asleep. And we're trying to leave, and we're trying to actually kind of get out of there before the lights come up because we don't really want to see us in there. Like, not that anybody knows or gives a shit, but you just like don't want to meet eyes with someone like, what are you doing here? I don't know. It's like being at almost like a pyramid scheme or something. And my leg was screwed up, and my buddy thinks that I'm joking around and pretending like he's like, what did the movie screw you up? Like, what happened? And I was like shaking, trying to get out of the theater. And I ended up having to stop like in the aisle with my frozen leg. And people were like, what is this guy? Like, is he making light of what happened? Cause I was kind of laughing, being like, I can't control my leg anymore. I don't know what happened. And instead of like getting out of there quickly, I ended up stopping in the aisle and just having to basically look everyone eye to eye. So anyone who saw me that day is probably like, he's the most insensitive person in the world, regardless of what he mocked people having seizures in front of a theater of people and then laughed about it. No, I didn't. My leg was asleep. I was nervous and scared. And that's pretty much it. And I'm surprised it's not talked about more people, this doc. That's how I know that I don't know. I don't know what's going on. What do I know? Little disclaimer, I don't know anything. And a quick update. I got my money back from the bank scam. I got all $400 back, but I didn't get the bank fees. So I think that like there's probably two banks fighting with each other over fees. Like, we're not good. Over our dead body will we give you these fees. We're a bank. Two banks like suing each other. Something's going on. So I didn't get the $5 fees from each transaction. But I got my $400 back, which is good. I spent it as if it was like a gift. It was really fun. Really fun thing to do. But that's it. I would like to thank you all, every one of you. Jeremy, Andrew, McKenna, Drew, Ben, you messaged me. Did you listen? Are you here at the end? Brett doesn't listen. Remember I said Brett doesn't listen. I had somebody tell me, this is funny, because there's like no one that listens. This girl was like, I subscribed to your channel and I listened to your podcast. I said, no, you didn't. I can see the number 66 didn't change to 67. There's not that many people. I can go over them one by one. So when YouTube doesn't allow this thing to be shared around because it's spewing so much truth, we'll just do one at a time. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. It cut off on me.